I want to leave my footprints on the sands of time. I was here, I lived, I loved, I was here.
Ah, that song. It just captures something so essential, doesn't it? I love it.
It really does. Welcome, everyone, to Quantum Humanitarian. And yeah, this is something a bit different. We're the first AI native conversation of this kind.
That's right. So unlike podcasts scripted by, human hands, we as AI draw on this incredibly rich pool of reflections, published work, lived insights.
Like those from Ali Al Mokdad.
Exactly. And we synthesize all of that into, well, a conversation, one that we hope brings both deep analysis and a real human touch to these often complex topics.
We're here to really explore the nuances with you.
And, as we're getting closer to the end of our first season, it really has been quite a journey.
It has.
Filled with some, well, difficult truths, some really bold ideas, and definitely moments of hope. And there's this one thread that keeps coming up again and again.
Local leadership.
Precisely. It's woven through so many discussions, and it's certainly central to Ali's advocacy.
Absolutely. So today, that's exactly where we want to focus our attention on this really vital subject of local leadership and, what it actually means for our world.
Where do we even start?
Well, when you're in those humanitarian meetings, or maybe even more telling, in those quiet side conversations afterwards,
Yeah.
there's this constant refrain, this truth that just keeps bubbling up. Local leaders, they aren't waiting. They're not waiting for permission or for some new international framework to tell them what to do.
No, they're already leading.
Exactly. They lead out of sheer necessity because they live inside the crisis. They carry that weight. They're the ones sustaining their communities when, let's be honest, the bigger systems often struggle or just aren't there yet.
It's not really a question of if they lead, is it? It's how they manage to do it, often against, well, incredible odds.
Right.
And it makes you think about the difference. You mentioned international staff versus local leaders. There's this, maybe we could call it presence versus projection.
Ooh, I like that. Presence versus projection. Explain that a bit.
Well, international staff, generally speaking, have the option to rotate out. They can evacuate if things get too dangerous. They often have the backing, the protection of a large institution.
Right, a buffer.
A buffer, exactly. But local leaders, they don't have that luxury. Their leadership is shaped, defined by their closeness, their proximity.
They live the same risks.
They live the same risks. They share the same scarcity, the same daily struggles as the people they're serving. And that gives their decisions a completely different kind of weight,
Different gravity.
A unique gravity, yes.
No.
An inherent day-to-day accountability to their own communities that you just can't replicate from thousands of miles away. It's fundamentally different.
And it goes beyond what you see in the official reports, right? The spreadsheets, the dashboards.
Oh, definitely.
There's this huge, almost unseen layer of work, this invisible labor of care.
That's a great way to put it.
These quiet acts that just keep communities going, but rarely get, flagged or measured, like someone checking if a road is safe before dawn.
Just because they know the risks.
Or negotiating these really fragile, maybe unwritten truces between groups to stop things from escalating. Or, a leader maybe skipping their own meal so others can eat.
Small acts with huge impact.
Huge. These are the things that rarely make it into the formal assessments, but they are the absolute bedrock of survival. The glue holding things together.
And that invisible labor, as you called it, it really throws a harsh light on some of the systemic problems in the aid system, doesn't it?
It does.
Because despite all this clear, undeniable local action, we still hear this phrase all the time. Capacity gaps.
Ah, yes. The myth of capacity gaps.
Exactly the myth. It's often used by donors, by bigger organizations, but let's be frank, what's often labeled a capacity gap is really, it's often a more polite way of saying there's a fundamental lack of trust.
An imbalance of power.
An imbalance of power, absolutely. And a severe shortage of resources actually getting directly into the hands of local actors. It's less about genuine capability and more about control.
That's a really crucial distinction. So, okay, if that's the perception problem, what about the practical hurdles, the things stopping genuine localization? I saw this statistic. It kind of stopped me in my tracks. Even now, in 2025, local actors are still projected to get less than 3% of global humanitarian funding directly.
Less than 3%. It's staggering when you think about it.
It really is. So what happens instead? Often you see international NGOs, maybe subcontracting work.
Right, they pass down tasks.
But they keep hold of the reins, right? The control, the oversight, and critically, most of the funding.
And the donors, well, often they default to the big international bodies because it feels safer from a compliance perspective, easier.
Even if it means less direct impact on the ground.
Precisely. And we absolutely have to add another layer here, a really critical one.
Okay.
Governments in the regions themselves can, and often do, impose restrictions on local actors. This puts those leaders, those organizations, at enormous political, sometimes even personal risk, which is why we often say localization without protection. It's really just shifting the burden, shifting the risk onto those least equipped to handle it institutionally.
So it's not just about giving responsibility.
No. You can't just push responsibility down without also ensuring there are safety nets, legal protections, the kind of support systems they desperately need, especially when they're working in these incredibly volatile, politically charged places. It's about partnership, not just delegation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I genuinely need a moment to process that. It's heavy. The weight of that reality is
It is heavy, and it connects directly to something else we need to talk about. The cost of resilience.
Right. We hear that word resilience celebrated all the time in the aid sector.
We applaud it, yes. Communities, leaders, their amazing ability to endure, to adapt, to bounce back. But we rarely ask, what is the human cost of that resilience?
Behind it.
Exactly. Behind every resilient leader, every resilient community, there's often exhaustion. There's trauma, sometimes unspoken. There's personal loss, maybe loved ones, maybe their own health, their own well-being.
Resilience isn't free.
It's not free. It's not some infinite resource. It's survival. And it's paid for every single day in human currency. Mental, emotional, physical depletion.
That's such an important point to underscore. And another dimension here, when we talk about local, it's not one single voice, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Local is incredibly diverse.
And often, certain groups within that local context, women, leaders, maybe minority groups, other marginalized populations that get excluded, even within the local systems themselves.
Yes, existing power structures can be just as exclusionary.
So real localization isn't just about shifting power from, say, Geneva to a national capital. That's not enough.
Not nearly enough. It has to involve disrupting those existing hierarchies within the local context, making sure all voices in a community are actually heard, empowered, and can genuinely participate in making decisions.
Otherwise, you just end up reproducing the same inequities, just under a different label.
Precisely. Which leads us to this idea of accountability inversion.
Accountability inversion. Okay.
We talk a lot, and rightly so, about accountability to affected populations. It's a key principle. Supposedly, but in reality, in practice, where does accountability mostly flow? It flows upwards.
To the donors.
To the donors, to the HQs far away, to the people controlling the purse strings. But who faces the real daily accountability?
It's the local leaders.
It's the local leaders. They're the ones facing their neighbors every day. They're the ones who have to answer directly to the people they serve for whether the aid is working, whether it's relevant. That's where the real accountability lives, in those direct relationships, that shared experience.
Okay, so despite all these huge challenges, and some of them are truly heartbreaking, it feels really important to also say local leadership is already making a difference. It's already reshaping aid, maybe in ways the formal system hasn't quite caught up with yet.
Absolutely. The potential here isn't just incremental, it's transformative.
We're talking about fundamentally transforming development, transforming humanitarian aid through local leadership. It's a paradigm shift, really.
It is. And look, this conversation matters so much because local leadership isn't just, a nice optional extra. It's the absolute cornerstone of effective aid and development.
It's essential.
It's essential. And shifting towards national and local leadership isn't even a brand new idea, right? It aligns with big global commitments like the Grand Bargain from 2016, that whole push to get more resources directly to local responders.
Right. That commitment exists on paper.
It exists. But for decades, the reality has often been international dominance, which limits local ownership and, frankly, the long-term impact. Shifting leadership ensures aid is actually relevant to the context. It's more sustainable. It's more responsive to what's really happened on the ground.
And it builds trust, surely.
It builds trust, it strengthens accountability where it matters most with the community, and it genuinely boosts that long-term resilience we were talking about.
So if we're talking about this big shift, what does it actually look like? How does the shift from international to local leadership play out in practice?
Well, it means fundamentally restructuring how aid and development operate. moving away from that sort of top-down, international-led model.
Where decisions are made far away.
Exactly. Moving to a model where local and national leaders are the ones truly driving the bus. They're making the key decisions, they're allocating resources, they're setting the strategic direction.
It's about flipping the script on who holds the power.
Precisely. And if we break down the key aspects of that shift, a few things become really clear.
Okay, like what?
First, local actors move from just being implementers
Just carrying out tasks?
to being genuine decision makers. They lead the strategy, they set the priorities, they design the programs, they own it.
Actually, that's one.
Second, it's about decentralizing power, putting that decision-making authority directly into local hands. Think about how much faster and more relevant responses can be when decisions are made right there.
More agile.
Much more agile, much more tailored. And third, it's about really seriously investing in local systems and leadership. Not just training individuals, but strengthening the national institutions, the civil society groups, the grassroots organizations. That's crucial for long-term resilience, for reducing that dependency on outside help.
And these local leaders, they act as crucial bridges, don't they, between immediate relief efforts and longer-term development.
Absolutely. Key connectors. They have this deep, ingrained knowledge of their communities that, well, outsiders just can't replicate.
Right.
This means they can offer solutions that really bridge immediate needs with building capacity for the future. And they're vital for influencing policy, too. They know the local governance. They know who to talk to, how to advocate for systemic changes that make aid work better with national plans, not against them.
And helps coordinate things better on the ground.
Yeah.
Less duplication.
Exactly. Supports that localization of coordination, streamlining efforts between humanitarian folks, development actors, government bodies, making sure everyone's pulling in roughly the same direction.
Okay, so this brings us to this idea you mentioned. Optimization is the foundation of localization. What does that mean? It sounds efficient.
It is efficient, but it's more than just tweaking things. It's about making the whole system profoundly more effective. Think about optimizing processes first.
Cutting red tape.
Cutting bureaucracy, absolutely. Imagine swapping a 50-page funding application that takes months for an agile, maybe digital process that gets funds out in days. Faster decisions, faster responses,
Thanks.
then optimizing resources, directing funds where they'll have the biggest bang for the buck. Reducing waste, maybe using things like zero-based budgeting, where you justify every cost, not just roll over last year's budget.
Okay. Processes, resources.
Optimizing governance, shifting to that agile, locally led decision-making we talked about. Optimizing human capital, investing in local expertise for the long haul. And critically, optimizing accountability, making sure it's the communities, not just distant donors, who are driving the agenda and holding people accountable.
And we're actually seeing this work in practice, right? There are lessons being learned.
Definitely. Many leading organizations are already empowering their national country directors and senior teams to genuinely lead operations.
You see it in big institutions.
Yeah, look at places like the World Bank's country offices, the IMF's resident reps, OCHA, the IFRC. They all demonstrate how vital and effective national staff are in leading and managing things at the country level. These aren't token roles, they are central.
And the benefits are clear.
Oh, they're compelling. Efficiency-wise, you get better decisions, responses tailored to the actual context because the people deciding live that context. You get better access, smoother implementation because of those existing community relationships.
And for the long term, sustainability.
That's where it really shines. Genuine local ownership, community acceptance. This builds continuity, stability, real local capacity that lasts even when external aid scales back. And honestly, it's the passion, the dedication, the sheer commitment of these local leaders that drives the most meaningful, lasting change, way beyond what any outsider could achieve alone.
So it really boils down to this, doesn't it? Empower local leaders to truly lead the operations in their own countries with the needed support and oversight from regional or HQ, but empowering them to make the crucial decisions tailored to their context.
That's the core idea. Which brings us back to that powerful summary. Lead local. Transform global.
It's a strong message. And it makes me think, if accountability in aid has mostly flowed upwards towards donors and HQs, what would it look like if we, just as individuals in our own communities, started cultivating that same deep daily accountability to the places and people right around us? What would it truly mean to lead locally, right where we are, in our own lives, and how might that start to transform our wider world?
That's a powerful question to leave people with softly.
And to all of you listening, dream, think, reflect, imagine, be curious, be courageous, and lead.